Hi guys, how is everybody? Just doing my video a bit later than planned. I was supposed to do this video probably a couple of hours previous, but obviously I've had the kids running around and stuff, and so I'm doing it a bit later on. So hoping to post it tonight on YouTube to send the link onto my page. So before I start the video, I just want to say that if you hear any type of snoring in the background, it's my dog. I have a bulldog and she snores really loud. So apologies for that if you do hear it. So anyway, so again, I've done another Edgar Allan Poe themed journal. It's kind of similar to the previous one that I did, not before but the one before that, with the background. If you remember, I did similar papers and then I had a picture of a raven, but this time I've done very similar with using vintage papers all the way around it and making it all grungy. Some of the papers are like really old vintage papers, like this one is from a 1911 newspaper, and then some are like old vintage music sheets, and then I've thrown in some Tim Holtz. It's a bit like a clear paper, and then this one here is dated 1878. So there's quite a lot of vintage papers what I've made all fussy together, not fussy, just like thrown them all together kind of thing. And then if anyone who is into Edgar Allan Poe knows that one of his famous poems is called The Raven, and the famous quote is "Nevermore." So as you can see, I've added the raven all around the journal, and this I made myself, not the actual locket, but I've put this on, and then on the inside of the locket we have a picture of Edgar and a picture of his beloved wife Virginia, who sadly passed away at a very young age. Edgar married Virginia when she was I think she was 13, and she was the love of his life. So it is quite a thick chunky journal, as you can see, and on top I've got all these different types of sorry silks, which are added to tags and things. And then I've had a go at making my own like little beads, which is one here, and then there's another one there, and I do have a wax seal one which I've made, and then I've coloured it in with a gold pen, and then I do have an actual black raven charm, which is just a little tiny, if I can see, a teeny tiny black raven. So I'll just show you all the way around. So let's get stuck in. Like I say, it is quite chunky. This journal is based just on Edgar Allan Poe. I did a journal before which was it had the tree and then the raven and then the moon. That was based on mostly Edgar Allan Poe, but a lot was based on witches and dark, spooky, Halloweeny kind of things. That was my last journal. So I'll get straight in. So I've just added one of these plate things to the person who will have this journal can just write the name, and then just made a cut-out collage. And then on this page, as you can just get the camera in focus, I've done an outline of the raven, and the poem The Raven starts off, once upon a midnight dearie, while I pondered weak and weary, and that's the start of the famous Raven poem. And then I have this old card, and I've E for Edgar, and it's an old vintage card game, and I've just added a feather. I'm sorry, this lighting is appalling. And then we have this lovely black trim, and I've added a little bead charm. And I just want to say thank you to Jeanette Logan on one of my journal pages in the UK. We did a journal swap this month, and she asked me if there was anything that I wanted, and I just said I'm doing a lot of gothic journals at the moment, so if you have any like black lace or anything gothic, please, you know, be happy to send. And she sent me like a lot of black fabrics and lace, so thank you, Jeanette, because that's helped a lot. So I'll shut up rambling on. It's actually nice to just be able to talk in my videos instead of quickly flicking through, because my kids in the background are getting impatient. So yeah. So I'll start off, and I've got a little booklet, and then what I've done is I've not glued the pages, and I've just left them blank with a cup pocket and just some journaling cards on the inside. I'll tie that up after, and then I've just used some random scraps of cardstock that I have lying around and just added some old vintage music paper and just some fabric. Get my journal down. Oh, and I forgot to point out as well, I have used, let me find the name, I have used a couple of kits off Etsy, and I'm a bugger for printing things off and not telling people who the names are. So one of the kits I've used is don't know if you can see that. So I've used one of the kits from this person off Etsy, and I've used a couple more, and I forgot the names already. I always cut the names out and then save them, so that when I'm doing videos I can give them the compliments so people can find them, but I'm absolutely useless. So yeah, anyway. This is tracing paper, and then on the back I've stitched some tea dye paper and made it into a bit of a pocket, and just printed some of this off, with it being like an Edgar themed journal. Obviously people who know him, he is a poet, so obviously I've tried to add some paper in that looks like, you know, to make it look all like messy and splodgy. And then we just have 2 journaling cards in the back. And then this just opens up and you can just journal on the inside of that. Again, this paper is tiny bit like tissue paper, but not as thin. And this is a Tim Holtz sheet of roll that I bought a while ago. And I love using that. And the lighting is bloody rubbish. And then I've made, there's 3 of these what I've made, little collages. I've just used up scraps of fabrics and eyelash trim, and then I've added quite a lot of quotes from his poems, and then I've made, there's 3 tags what I've made in this journal, all like a collage. And again, I've used quite a lot of quotes from Edgar's poems. And then we have just some more journaling cards, which I've printed off from the graphics fairy. Obviously with Edgar being a poet, I was trying to like add in old-fashioned ink things and postcards. And then we've got this long tuck here, and the poem on this you can't even actually read it because the writing is that small. And then in this journal I've added a few pages out of a architectural book, and does it give the dates on them? Like, I've tried to add them in from the 1800s and above, because obviously anyone that is into Edgar Allan Poe know that Edgar Allan Poe was born around 1820, I think, and then I think he died in 1849. I cannot remember off the top of my head. So I've tried to keep like some things around that period. I've added some really old newspaper cuttings, and then again this is a big pocket up here. I've not put anything in because, as you can see, this journal's absolutely packed, and it's very rare that I leave pockets empty, but I just thought the person who's receiving this can put their own stuff in. And it's got this gorgeous beautiful poem from Edgar, and then this is from an old encyclopedia book. Obviously I'm assuming poets, you know, got all the long words and stuff from Shut Up Rambling On, Nicola. Yeah, so this is like a little pocket here, and we've got just an envelope which is empty, and this is the first time that I've actually stamped on fabric, and it turned out pretty well, and it looks like a bit of a raven. And then I've done like a collage of different types of scrap fabrics on that. And then this is just a collage what I've done today, and I love this artwork. It's got everything included in all of Edgar's poetry, with the cat and the ravens and the skulls. Yeah. And then obviously I've done this myself. I've used vintage music paper, I've used white gesso, and then I've done a lot of inking and stamping, and I've added one of his quotes out of his poetry, And then this is, I've just put, you can see that it says made with love. I have these professionally made, so I thought I'd just add that in. And then there's just one of those papers in. Oh, and I tea-dyed the envelopes as well to make them look a bit more older. And then this, I used a napkin, and then I've glued over the top of it and then dried it and then peeled it off. Then you can use them to use as ephemera in journals, which I learned this week. I'm assuming this is Virginia because this came out of an Edgar Allan Poe ephemera pack. It had pictures of this lady in, so I'm assuming that's his wife. Yeah, wife. And this is one of his poems, and there's journaling space on the back and just some journaling cards in there. Yeah, and then I did tuck something in this one, and this is just tea-dyed paper, and then I've just used a bit of black dye just to make it look a bit old. And I just used some leftover fabric. Again, just undo that, and I've left that empty as well. There's nothing inside it, but you can flip it out and put things inside of there. Again, this is from the book that I was telling you about, the architect book, and I've put things in dating from around 1800s and around the era of Edgar Allan Poe, and it just reminds me of him sitting there and the raven comes in, so that kind of fits in with the theme. And then just a batch journaling card, and then this I've stuck on to some tea-dyed paper, then I've folded all the paper up and I've glued it, and then I've used my wax sealant, but it's actually closed, so the person receiving it can just peel it and then undo the paper, and then they're able to journal in it and then close it all back up. So I thought that was quite cool, because back in that era that's how they sent letters, so I was just trying to keep in with the theme. This is an actual picture of Edgar in his younger days, but saying that he wasn't really ill when he passed. And I just had some leftover fabric. I actually got this from a charity shop in Cumbria last weekend. I went into one of the charity shops and I picked up some fabrics while I was there in the charity shop. Again, I think that is Virginia. And then we've just got a really large journaling tag. And I just put this in as well. And obviously sorry silk at the top. And then this is the other side of the tracing paper what I've used. I've done my best to leave some pages blank because I am a bugger for completely filling journals up. And I find it hard just leaving things blank, so I've done my very best to leave as many blank pages as I can. Then we've got the raven, and there's journal on the back of that, and obviously another journaling card there, and some sorry silk lace. And then again we have a journaling card, and I'm assuming this will be Virginia Poe. not 100%, but again, I've left some journaling spaces, another journaling card with a picture of Edgar on, if we can get it in. And then another tuck, and this is another journaling card, and I've used different scraps of vintage papers, and then I've used one of his quotes out of his poems. And then this is called Franklin paper, where I've stuck all these different types of paper together and then stitched them, and then I've just added some pictures on, and then we have another paper clip up the top. We loved Wither Love, that was more than love, which is another quote from one of his poems, which I think is called Annabel Lee, one of his poems. And I've just got a journaling card there. And then we've just got lots of little tiny cute things. And a raven there. Little journaling cards. It just pulls out like that, and then you can journal on the back of that. Another journaling card, another one, and then another one. There's quite a few stuffed in there. And then in this little pocket thing here, I've made like a journaling, like a miniature journal, and I've just used different types of scrap paper, and then there's a little glassine bag to put things in there. And it's just the same on the other side, just all different types of scraps, what I've not been able to use. I like making little booklets, it's a good way of getting rid of my scraps. And then another journaling pocket here. Again, journal on the back of it, and it's just put them on the front. And then I've made like a tiny booklet, and these can actually be ripped out. There's an actual line thing there, and they can just be like pulled out like a notebook. And I've just realised I've not put nothing in there yet. So I will have put in something in there. I was going to make another little miniature journaling booklet, so that's my job to do. So yeah, that will have a journal booklet in there. And then I've used an old doily, and I've stuck it all together. Just added like this on here with scrap fabric. There's a raven. Just added a little journaling card there, and then a large journaling card, which just easily tucks into there. And then at the bottom we have a little keychain with some gorgeous lace. And this is just some fabric what Jeanette sent me. I just thought it was quite fitting for the theme, so I just lift it up, and we've got a journaling card there, and then a large one that unravels. And then on the back side of that, another journaling card, what I've collaged all together, and then added another line from Edgar's poems. And then I've just got a little miniature pocket with some little cards that can be stuck around the journal. And then another belly band, and I've just used scraps of fabrics. And we've got another journaling postcard, and then inside this I've just added some paper which is blank, so the lady who's receiving this can journal on the inside of that. And then we have little miniature, oh gosh, another little card thing with another quote from Edgar Allan Poe, and then I've just added some scrap cardstock. What's the journaling space, which was quite hard to just leave. Can you hear my dog snoring? Again, some more really old newspaper clippings. And this has just got the raven charm at the top. Probably can't see it, but it's there. And then we've just got another journaling card, and then just some random leftover tea dyed paper that I had to use as a pocket. And then we've got the Virginia, and I've just used this lovely rose thing, which was again gifted to me from Jeanette, so thank you again. And then obviously we've got another beautiful poem quote from one of his poems, and I just added some, again, just some scrap fabric. And I absolutely love this this lace. It's gorgeous. I used it on the previous journal what I did as well, and I've just ran it, so I'm going to have to order some more in. And then again, a little charm what I made. Again, this is from the Architect's book, dated 1845 to 70. Like I said, with Edgar being born around that period, I wanted to keep it based on that. And then we have another one. I'm not going to undo it, but again, I've stuck this to some tea dye paper, so when you undo it, it's all stuck together. You can journal in it and then neatly wrap it back to how it was, and it's like a little secret journal thingamabob. And then just another journaling card, and you just tuck neatly in there, as so. And then this, I think I printed this off from the graphics fairy, and it just says everyone has a dark side, which I thought was quite fitting for this journal. And then a little teeny tiny pocket there, and we've just got a journaling card with a raven on, and just an empty envelope there. And just a bit of collage in what I've done, and inking. And then I've just used some, I think this paper is actually German. So I've just stuck that on there. And then this is, again, this is a napkin, and I've cut it up and then put glue over the top of it, and then I've peeled it off when it's dried, and you can use it a bit like ephemera, which I think's a cool idea. Another journaling card. I forgot the lady who did the tutorial, but she is on YouTube and has a Facebook page, so I need to get her name so that I can thank her again. And then this is obviously an envelope, and it's not actually stuck down. This is washi tape, so anyone who knows washi tape, it can be peeled off then stuck back down, and because I've got nails on, it's hard. So what I've done with this envelope is, instead of sticking it all together, I've kind of left it like a big piece of paper, so you can journal all there, and then you can just close it up and seal it. And then I've just used some leftover scraps again as like a little dangle charm, and obviously that's a raven transfer. Another tuck pocket there, some vintage dictionary paper. And then again another envelope, and I've used a really old vintage stamp. And you can tuck things in there. I've just left that empty. And then I've used another piece of scrap, and I forgot the name of these pins. There's a special name from, but I forgot. And then another quote from his one of his poems. And then we have another booklet what I've made with different scraps, vintage matte paper what I've used, and then this is the really old paper what I used on the front of the journal from 1875, I think it was. And then again, this is another paper clip what I've made out of scraps of fabric with another quote from his poem. And then I've just used a really, really old vintage postcard. Which can be journaled on. And then on the back of that we have some more journaling cards. And then I've just used this as a pocket. And this is one of the old papers that I was talking about, what I've been using. I have a book, it's quite a big, it's like a big A3 I think it is, paper. Dated from 1897. So I have been using quite a lot of offcuts from that. So just added that in. And then we just have some little miniature things like this. They can be used around the journal for the lady who's receiving. Bit of ephemera. Again, the architect book what I've been using. Some more journaling cards. And that is the end of that. So I'm sorry for being rabbiting on, but it's just nice to actually sit down and the house is quiet. The kids are in bed, the husband's at work, the dogs are snoring, and I can actually just sit down and not rush my videos. So thank you for watching. Thank you and goodbye.